Good afternoon, everybody. So, we shall continue our discussion on source coding. Source coding, of course, depends on a lot of information theory aspects, which we will not discuss. We will just introduce what is source coding, because our purpose of this introduction of source coding is to introduce this source encoder block. So basically, the way that we will go through, though in the book you will find that, especially in the book by B.P. Lathi, source coding is given in a later chapter. However, in this course we are following in this manner, the way the information is flowing. Okay, so basically, this is the source data, and then it goes through the block source encoder or source coding. Then it goes through channel coding. Then there is analog front end, that is the physical media. Then on the receiver side, we have channel decoder, and then source decoder, and the receiving data. So this completes a single communication, data communication link of one channel. Then of course we have multiple channels when operates together. We have the management of various channels. So for that purpose only we are introducing source coding. So last day we have discussed about information, that how information is quantified in terms of source symbols. That is quantified in terms of the probability of occurrence of source symbols. Ideally, of course, this probability of occurrence would converge to a good value corresponding to a large number of data. So then only the computation of probability becomes steady. So we have defined, it is defined that the information is rather quantified by the amount of uncertainties that is present in the data as log of 1 by p, and correspondingly we have an important term, that is entropy. Entropy is given in terms of information and the probability, that is the average information in a message. So this information, when we express in terms of log to the base 2, then it comes in terms of bits. So, and often this is also referred as Shannon entropy. As Shannon introduced this concept of this kind of information computation and entropy in the source coding theorem in the noiseless case. So basically it's a coding theorem for the noiseless case, and in presence of noise, the coding theorem introduced is used in channel coding. Because invariably when we are coding the source is in our hand. So therefore we want to code it in a lossless manner, that is in a unique manner, such that whatever be the source symbol, string of source symbols available, that is that can be recovered at the receiving end. So for that purpose only this Shannon introduced this Shannon entropy concept, and when computed it log to the base 2, then it becomes pi log pi bits. So there are one important aspect is that entropy is maximum when all messages are equiprobable. So that is one of the axioms coming out of that source coding or the entropy theorem. So now we will just discuss a few types of coding, for example, without going much into the theory. So while discussing this, one of these coding is popularly known as the prefix coding. So prefix coding is a coding which is prefix coding is a binary string where no code appears as the prefix of another code. So this property enables for a continuous readout scheme at the decoding end. So that's why it is often referred to as a real-time code. So what is it? Just a small example we shall give here. So suppose we have source symbols S0, S1, S2, S3. So this S0, S1, S2, S3 can be as the example in our previous day, that is A, B, C, D, all can be as the source symbol. Now the probability is given as 0.5, 0.25, 0.125 and 0.125. Now a prefix code say we can start with either 0 or 1. Okay, so suppose we start with 0. So this as given in the Hawkins book. Then the next code, say S0 is coded by say 0. Okay, this is intuitively also has been, this could be say 2-digit, 3-digit binary code. But generally, if we want to make it a efficient code, the idea is to allocate the least number of bits to the most probable state. So that way, the expenditure of bits will be smaller. So that way, this 0.5. So first of all, this source symbol may not be 0, 1, 2, and in this order. Actually, this source symbol need to be arranged in a descending order. Okay, in a descending order with the highest probability. going to the lowest probability. And then we have, so this is ordered in terms of probability. Then we put a code 0, assign code 0 for S0. Then the next one would be say S1. Now if I put 1 here, then of course you can say that because it is 0.25 probability, I could simply put 1. Okay. Then what will be the next code? So next code, if it is to be different from these two codes, it has to be 2-digit. So therefore, it has to either start with 0 and 1. But if it starts with 0 and 1, so then it cannot be a prefix code, because this 0 and 1 is already used as a code of S0 and S1. So therefore, this cannot be of length 1. Okay. So such that it does not appear as a prefix. So I can put either 11 or 10. So this is in the book, it is there as 10. So now the next code, it cannot start with 0, because a single digit code, when if it is assigned as a prefix code, according to prefix code, this digit nowhere appear as the first digit of any of the code symbols. So now for the S2, then we have to start with 1, and it cannot be 10, because then this becomes a prefix of this. So it has to be 11. Then it can be either 0 or 1. We can put say 0, and the next one of course can be 11 and 1. So in that case, 110 is also not prefix, 10 is not prefix, and 0 is not prefix. So that is now if we start it with say 1, then what will happen? Invariably this has to be 0. Okay, and then this could be say 0, 1. Okay, then 0, 1 cannot be a prefix for this one. Okay, so then it has to be 0, 0, 1. All right, then 0, 0, 1 cannot be a prefix, but this is the last digit, so it can be 0, 1 also cannot be a prefix. Okay, 0, 1 also cannot be a prefix, and 0, 0, 1 cannot be a prefix. It could be 0, 0, 0.
Like, can it be 101?
It can be no, because 1 is already a code here. So if I put 101, then that can be the prefix rule is broken. Okay. So prefix rule is that no code will appear as a prefix, the initial portion of another code. So now, so that's why this is a prefix code 1, this is prefix code 2. Now, if we compute the bitwise, of course, both will same the cost, average bit cost.
Sir, instead of 000, can't we have 0001 or something like that?
Yeah, but then we have one extra bit burden will be there.
So the idea is that the minimum number of bits we use.
Yes, minimum, but that's why we are computing the average bit cost. Okay.
Okay,
So
sir.
average bit cost is given by the sigma individual bit cost.
The higher probability one, why are we trying to represent using less bits?
Because then the bit cost will be lower, because we are making the summation. Okay, so for this case, the first one would be say 0.5 into 1 plus 0.25 into 2 plus 0.125 into these are also 3 and plus 3. So this is into 6. So then this becomes 0.5 plus 0.5 plus this is 0.75. So then this becomes 1.75. Sorry. .75 because this is bits per symbol.
So can you again explain how you are computing this individual bit cost?
Yeah, this is average bit cost. This is not the
Yes.
bit cost.
So
it is average bit
for the
cost.
first term, 0.5 into 1.
Yeah, the probability
We are using the
25.
prefix code 2.
This is 0.25 into 2 bits are here. So into 2. And then we have 0.125 into 3 plus 0.125 into 3. So that becomes 0.125 into 6. I mean, or we can write it explicitly, 0.25 into 3.
So we were saying number of bits should be like log of like log base 2 of reciprocal of probability. What if the probability is like 3 by 8 or something?
Probability?
So what if probability we get like 3 by 8, then log will give us a decimal like fractional number.
This one?
Something previous class
Sir.
that number of bits is log base 2 of 1 by p. But
Yeah.
say it is like 3 by 8, then log base 2 of 8 by 3 is like a fractional number.
Yeah, it could be a fractional number. All probabilities are fraction only.
So the number like log base 2 1 by p. But so how can we have fractional number of bits?
No, these are not fraction number of bits. This is average bits per symbol.
Not this one. So like using that relation log base 2 1 by p, that would be equal to number of bits required.
Yeah, it will be fraction of bits. No, actually it is average bits. It is always fraction. Most of the cases it will be fraction bits only.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, in the last class, you had explained that to cover a number of unique symbols.
Yeah. No, two covers.
For covering number of unique symbol n, we have to take at least log 2 n digits. So in that case, if log 2 n is fraction, then we should consider seal value or floor value.
Seal value.
No, yeah, it will be. It is the average bits. Actual bits will be computed by the numbers. Okay. Suppose this instead of probability has been computed by the numbers. Like say our source coding example. But this is a big number will come like this one. Okay. So we have 16 occurrences. So now we can compute probability. One is 116, 416 like that. Now the number of actually the number of symbols is 1, 1, 4, 1 like that. Now if I allocate say here a bit, 1 bit, then the number of total bits for representation of A for transmitting this string is 4 bits. Okay. So similarly for the blank also if I allocate 2 bits, then that becomes 8 bits. So ultimately, total number of bits will be an integer number. Okay. So but that is in terms of average bits per symbol. So that thing is coming just simply multiplied by the probability. Because average bits, it will be divided by 16. So therefore, automatically those multiplication will come into probability terms. Okay. So this is the average bit cost. The total bit cost will be average bit cost multiplied by the total number of bits, total number of occurrences. So because probability has been obtained by dividing the total number of occurrences of symbol, so this number has been obtained by dividing the total number of occurrences of symbol. If we multiply it by this number, so automatically I will get the total bit cost. However, for this example in the book, they have not given the total number of bits and from it calculation. To do that, we can solve that example that I have a fat cat and compute the probabilities. But because there are 8 symbols, it will be a long table and it will take some time to compute.
Sir, in this prefix code 2, the first prefix code is like 1, and after
Yes.
that you have written 0, 1. So instead of 0, 1, if I just write simply 0, then I would be stuck there, right? Because the next code I can't write.
I will be stuck there because that 0 will appear, 0 or 1 will appear as a prefix of this one.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Now, what is the advantage of this kind of code? This kind of code is advantage that suppose I need to transmit S0, S0, S1, S2, S2, S1 and S3. Okay. So the bit stream S0 is 0, the first prefix code we are using. So then S0 is 0, S1 is 10, S2 is 110, S2 is 110, S1 is 1, S3 is 111. Okay. Now at the decoding end, we will be reading this. So we have a code table, and now when we are reading it, then 0. Okay. No, sorry. I think I have 0 is a valid. Yeah, right. 0 is a valid code. Okay. So 0 will come here. So S0 will be deciphered. Next, once one code is complete, we will go to the next symbol, next bit. So it is 0, again a valid code. So it will again S0 will come. Next, we read 1. Okay. And in the code table, we don't have 1 as a valid code. So 1, then it will go to 0. Now, actually, we can have a explicit code table, or we can have a linked list or a tree for a code table. So both are often used for various purposes. Generally, for data tables, people use explicit tables, and for alphabets, etc., some tree search tables are used because there are number of alphabets are fixed. That is in English 26. So therefore, we can have a fixed length tree to search what is happening. So now, once it is not complete. We go to the next bit 0. Now we have a valid code. Okay. Then we say what is this valid code. So from the code table we will get S2. Then we have the 1 bit here. Okay, so 1 is not a valid code. Then 1, that is also not a valid code. Then we have 0. So we have a valid code here. So that becomes S2. Similarly for this one also S2, and this is S1, and then this is S3. So that way, just while reading this data, the decoding is done.
So
The
whenever
advantage with respect to the previous concept of say fixed code is that suppose I had there are 4 symbols. I could use say S0, 00, S1, 01, S2, 10, S3, 11. Okay. Now what happens here? If we use fixed length, then that will be all right. Okay. So that means 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. But if the number of symbol increases, and often it so happen that the highest probability and lowest probability will share the same number of length. In this case, of course, the difference will not be much. Suppose this is a fixed length code, so this is 0.5 into 2. It is 2 only because average, so this is 2. No, it is not 2. 0.5 into 2. It will be 2. I think it will be 2. Yeah, 2. It will be 2. So this gives 2 bits per symbol. Okay, so this advantage will be much more prominent when we have large number of symbols. Suppose we have say like say for letters 26, then actually we have to go up to 32. Okay, so that is allocate 5 number of bits per symbol irrespective of the probability. So in such cases, what will happen? The advantage of allocating bits according to the maximum probability will help. Usually, of course, this probability table is computed for a large number of occurrence of symbol, this probability. So suppose for the alphabets, we have a large document, and then we compute the probability of occurrence of various letters. It so happens that the vowels, various vowels, and most either A or E has the maximum probability, and they tend to be more or less same if the document is very large. So therefore, more or less people make a table for like say document coding. So we can have a one probability table irrespective of the documents. So in that case, of course, the codes, prefix codes will not be completely optimum because we have not explicitly allocated the symbols according to the probability, but it will be more or less optimum. Okay. So from document to document, the probability of occurrence of various symbol may change. However, if it is large enough, it has been seen that it remains more or less same. Now, the coding efficiency is usually given by comparing this one with respect to the entropy. Coding efficiency eta is given by the entropy of the code divided by average number of bits. No, entropy of the, sorry, not the code. Entropy of the source. Average number of bits used by the code. So that means that will be H S divided by average number of codes. So we have used any symbol. Say L average. So this is one way of coding, but this thing, however, here the allocation we have, this allocation can be made further refined. So this allocation is refined further using in Hoffman coding. So we shall next discuss about Hoffman coding. So
Sir,
Hoffman coding, yes.
sir, the average number of bits cannot be less than entropy.
Yes, it cannot be less than entropy.
Oh, okay.
So that is also, I should write, because I am skipping those things, but L average is always greater than HS. So there is a proof, actually, that proof has been done by many people in various way. In any standard information theory and coding theory books, proofs are there. But here we are not interested that much on those aspects. We are here introducing source coding as a part of data communication. So we have many more topics that need to be covered. However, this source coding is an important block of data transmission. So that's why we need to discuss it. So here also this the same principle is followed. Maximum probable states are allocated or symbols allocated minimum bits. So this is the basic principle, and code generation is done just like before after ordering the probability table. However, because of this ordering task, often from programming point of view, this takes some burden. So there are other simpler lossless codings are also there, though they are not as efficient as, say, this coding. So we will explain it again with an example. So these are the symbols. Then we have probability. The probability is computed by the occurrence of the symbols divided by the total number of occurrences. So from that we have got the probability. Then this probability is ordered stage or make compound probability of, or rather probability of compound symbol by combining the lowest probability. So the highest one remain intact. These two are combined. So this is a compound probability of a compound symbol. A3, A5. So stage 2, this operation is carried forward for the next stage. So 0.4, 0.3. Then there are 3.1s. Okay. So we can have 1.1 here after reordering. So these two are combined, and because after combination it has gone up. Okay. So this becomes a compound symbol of A3, A4, a probability of the compound symbol of A3, A4, A5. Stage 3, we go on combining. So these two is combined, so 0.3. Again, this becomes a compound symbol. Next, we combine this. Because of combination, it goes up as 0.6, and this becomes a compound symbol. And this goes here, so 0.4. Now, so this is the stage 4. So this way now we have gone to the last stage. Okay, so we have formed all compound symbols. Now our code assignment will start from this one. So after merging of symbols into compound symbols, the assignment starts from the last. So at the last, there is one compound symbol and one most probable symbol. Both of them can be assigned as 1 bit. There is one compound symbol and one most probable sample. Both of the symbol, both of them are assigned 1 bit. Then this will grow backward till the start. So the code assignment will start from the last. So we have a place here. So we assign, say, 0 to the 0.6 and 1 to 0.4. Okay. Now we will go to the next stage. Now this is a symbol with 1. So then 1 is assigned to A2 because this is not a compound symbol. So 1 is directly flows back. Okay, so A2 is assigned as 1. A2 is assigned as 1. All right. And then here this is a compound symbol. So this 0 will again put 0 and 1. So it could be either way. It could be 0, 1 here. It could be 0, 0 here. Accordingly, so therefore, one thing we can say that we can also put 1 here and 0 here. So therefore, Hoffman coding is not a unique code. That is another thing. So it depends on the initial choice. and also in successive choices, 1, 0 choices. So in that way, multiple Huffman code can be generated with equal efficiency. So again, so 0, 0, close back. So to A6. A6 become 0, 0.
Multiple equally efficient coding, that is true for prefix coding also, right, sir?
Yes, because yeah, here we could either use 1 or 0. Okay, so if it becomes 1, then this could be this should be 0, and this would be 1 here, and then 1, 1, 0, 1. So the code table would be completely different set, but with similar efficiency, because the number of bits are same. Only that 0, they one, those things are different. The actual code is different, but the number of bits remains same. So we have broken down here. Now this one is 0, 1 is here. So then again the same rule, 0, 1, 0. Usually whatever rule you follow, like say I want to assign 0, 1, then generally people follow 0, 1 assigning as the successive assignment of all stages. So that will help in programming task. Otherwise, there will be a lot of, how do you do in a loop? So that will be very difficult. So this is 0, 1, 0 and 0, 1. Again, the last bit we are assigning, differentiating by adding 0 here and 1 here. So this point to this 0, 1, 1 flows back. This is an unique code, not a compound code. So therefore, this is 0, 1, 1. I should have done a different color, this backward path. Anyway, so now this is a compound one. Now here what happens, we have 0, 1, 0. So this becomes 0, 1, 0, 0, and this becomes 0, 1, 0, 1. Again, this 0, 1, 0, 0 goes directly here. So this is 0, 1, 0, 0. Now, so 0, 1, 0, 1. The same rule we apply, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. So this becomes 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, and this becomes 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. So now we have the complete symbol for A2, 1, A6, 0, 0, A1, 0, 1, 1, A4, 0, 1, 0, 0, A3, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, A5, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. So that way our
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in this way, we are missing out on many possibilities. Like using four digits, we can make many other permutations also. But we are
Yes,
directly
yes.
taking
That's what I am
5.
telling you. We could make many permutations. So that's why there are many Huffman codings. There can be many Huffman codes corresponding to one probability table, depending on how we are assigning this 0 and 1. However, the length will remain same.
So
The
this
length,
is also
the
following,
codes will different, but the length will remain same.
so this is also following prefix coding rules. So
Yeah.
this also it looks like it's following the prefix coding rules. So.
Yes, it is also following because this is also uniquely decodable. I mean, you don't need any stop bit between two codes. Usually, earlier days, we have fixed codes for various kind of symbols, and then we used to have start bit and stop bit, and to differentiate between two different codes.
So,
Now, yes.
so what will be the criteria? Like in previous one, whenever we encountered a zero, we knew that the substring is over. So
Yes.
similarly here, how will we know that this is the end of the
Suppose we have A2, A6, and A1. So here basically we have to search for a valid code. Okay. So we have one bit code, only one, so that will be very easy to decode. Now 2-bit code also, when it grows, it will be either 10 or 00, 00 or 11. Okay. For that there will be symbols. 2-bit code symbols in the code tables will be there. So then once we are reading the bits, accordingly we have to check that whether it is a valid code or not while decoding. So therefore, from programming point of view, so this is a little bit cumbersome during bit assignment as well as during reading also. This Huffman coding table is a little bit tricky in programming.
So what is
However,
that then prefix coding?
yeah, however, the efficiency is very near to the Shannon entropy. This we can compute here. If we compute the average,
So, but
yes.
if the coding that we are getting is similar to what we are getting by prefix coding, then like what is the use of doing all the extra hard work by doing all the multiple stages? Like we could have simply directly done prefix coding.
No, because here the coding efficiency will be better than prefix coding. Because here we are doing it as per giving a rule. This assignment is following a pattern. So there for a large number of symbols, it is very difficult in case of prefix coding. So for small number of symbols, we can assign them easily, okay, by looking at it. But for a large number of symbols, especially if we want to code for values, I mean, prefix code would be very useful for, say, alphabets, letters as well, because only 26 are there. However, if we have like some values need to be coded, so in such cases, this will be useful. But again, from programming task, it is heavy. So therefore, people use very other simpler kind of programming, maybe not so efficient, but because of ease in understanding and programming, there are other kind of lossless coding that we shall discuss, which are very simple in nature.
For numbers, can't we just use that 8-bit representation? It will be inefficient, but it will be easy.
But for a very large data, that will be hugely inefficient. Like say here, suppose here it is of course not so much efficient because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 symbols. So 3 bits could be used. Okay, but as we can see, we will see that there are average number of bits per symbol would be like 0.4 into 1, 0.3 into 2, 0.1 into 3 plus 0.1 into 4 plus 0.06 into 5 plus 0.04 into 5. So this is equal to 0.4.
2.2.
2.2. 2.4 or 2.2? 0.4, 0.61.
2.2.
Bits per symbol. Now, if we say, compute the Shannon bits or Shannon entropy, rather, not Shannon bits. So that is minus that is the probability PS SK log to the base 2 So this, if you compute, this gives 2.14 bits per symbol. So therefore, this is very near. Now, of course, if we use 3 in this particular case, there will be 3 bits. We can have unique code because there are only 6 symbols. We can have 3 bits. So 3-bit code could be used. But if the number of symbols are more, then of course that advantage becomes more. Also, because suppose this is only the average 3 bits. But suppose I have 10,000 such symbols, then that becomes 30,000 and this becomes 22,000. So that way the advantage is much more. But generally it has some other burden, of course, because code table, etc. need to be stored. All those things are there. And if we use the same code table for various kind of data statistically, then it does not become so optimal like this, but it will be suboptimal. So it is not so popular coding in general, but it gives almost optimum coding efficiency. I think next we will discuss, today there is no time. So next thing that we will discuss one very simple coding, which is often used in many situations, that is known as run length coding. That is also a kind of source coding.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So how did we write the source symbols for prefix coding? Could you please explain once again?
3 bits.
This is the prefix coding. In prefix coding, how did we write the source symbols?
Symbols. Yeah. So this one.
After calculating this average bit cost.
Average bit cost. Yeah, just that number of bits multiplied by this probability.
And so then we wrote S0, S1, S2, S3. You have written below this.
Not 0 is not written.
So please scroll down. Yes, sir, these S0, S1.
This is the data. This is the data.
Hello, sir.
Suppose a data is like that. Data is a combination of this
Prefix
or
code.
occurrence of these symbols. There could be large number actually. I have just shown like this. It's a data stream having the symbols S0, S1, S2, S3. Okay, there would be many more actually. So then this could be coded like this. This is just an example I have shown. Okay.
And sir, then you have written 2 bits per symbol. What is this?
No, this is suppose we don't use this is raw coding.
Okay, so we don't use prefix coding, then the average bit cost would be
Yeah,
high.
so because there are 4 symbols, so 2 bits is sufficient to represent 4 symbols without considering any probability, anything. Okay.
Sir, but in raw coding, we will have to keep the number of digits for each symbol same so that we know that where is the separation. We can't
Yes,
in one
yes,
digit
yes.
one.
So number of, so that is the disadvantage actually. So that's why the bits per symbol is generally much more. If the number of symbol becomes large, then the bits per symbol, like say if we have 256, then we have to have 8 bits per symbol. Okay. So in such cases, actually, this representation will come in very handy. And that is there is nowadays, that such kind of data source is also there where such kind I mean states can occur. I mean, for example, for say image coding, okay. So there are gray levels are occurring there are 256 symbols from 0 to 256 states. So each states of occurrence need to be coded, okay. So for such cases, of course, raw bit coding will take a lot of space. Of course, for image coding, people use many other lossy stages, then comes the lossless. But that is one type of data where lot of image video generally requires lot of bit budget compared to voice.
Got it, sir.
Okay, thank you. So maybe, yeah.
Sir, one more doubt. Sir, in this prefix coding example, I have calculated entropy and it is coming equal to the L average. Like 1.75 entropy is also equals to 1.75. So can
Oh,
it be
that,
possible?
yeah, it may be
Efficiency
possible.
will be 1.
It is just is a one case, limiting case only. It may happen. Okay, so accidentally it has happened.
For less number of bits, it is happening.
Yeah. So it may happen. So it depends on the number of bits. So probability has been matched. I mean, the probability numbers have come in such a manner that it has come.
Okay, sir.
Generally, such nice numbers do not come.
Sir, in general, Huffman coding is always more efficient than prefix one.
Yes, generally.